This is not just a photo. What you're looking at is nearly 20 years of family legacy featuring an apple, a pear, and orange, each perfectly staged with a background inheriting its complementary color to make a modern masterpiece. Consider the untamed fury that the apple carries within, the soothing calm of the humble pear, the orange that just wants to float amongst the clouds. This photo is fucking sacred! And I'm gonna, make it in 3D so I can put it wherever I want, because I think that'd be neat. And no, taking a photo of the photo to do some projection mapping with a glass panel put in front, that doesn't count. I want to recreate this thing in 3D using my own techniques, so let's get started in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the first order of business in making a project like this is getting some three-dimensional fruit, which yes, you can go to BlendSwap and download an apple and whatever else. But you can also jump off a building, so I'm not doing the BlendSwap. I'm gonna make my own fruit since this is my project. So what I ended up doing is I went to the grocery store. I live next to a Shaw's, and I got myself a peach instead of an apple, a mango instead of a pear, and a yam instead of an orange. Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, now I'm stuck with these things and I don't necessarily want to eat any of them, but they do kind of still match the color combination I'm going for. And the idea with this is I was going to use my fancy ass iPhone LiDAR scanner to scan this thing, but who knew that the LiDAR scanner doesn't do very well with tiny objects. It does great with big landscapes. You can scan that in and do it super quickly, but when I tried to scan in these fruits, it just didn't work. So what I ended up doing instead is the old photogrammetry route where you take a bunch of photos like a fucking insane person outside around the fruit, and then you stitch it together using Agisoft, Metashape, or whatever to get these 3D models, which didn't come without its issues. A lot of these models have, actually I think every single one has a hole, so I was thinking I could just orient this thing perfectly towards the camera so you can't see that this thing doesn't have an underside. Either way, just for the setup, I made a plane that turns into a curved plane to make a kind of studio lighting setup, and then for the color of it, I just picked the complementary color, which looks okay, but I thought that what would give this a lot of texture is adding in a noise texture, just add a bit of color variation, and then you render it and it looks bad, and you're like, oh, why does it look bad? It's because you didn't do any compositing. So you add in your vignettes, you add in your color correction, your glares, whatever, and you go from something like this to something like this, which they all look good compared to the originals, I guess, but they don't have that I took a photograph kind of look, and more has this I'm bad at Blender and did a bad 3D render kind of look. So I sent these into the GIMP and then did a bunch of extra filtering, so I wanted to break this up to make it look more like photographic or more painter-like. I then actually imposed a canvas on top of this, just things that will make this look more like a badly taken photo. I could then take the actual image that I did the UV wrap onto. Either way, you can take the images, overlay them directly on top, and when you do this, you can just reapply it to the model, and wow, it's the same thing, but now they have new images, and it doesn't look as good, and I don't think I've actually succeeded in my mission to make a replacement of this, especially since I didn't pick the same fruit. But I did actually learn something from this project, and I want to tell you what that